Hello, everyone. I see you all trickling in. Thank you so much for joining us today. Women in Cloud is thrilled to present this WICxCLOUDJOBS session, Restarting Your Career. I think we can all agree that tech is the future. It's becoming increasingly important in all industries, but tech itself is innovating and growing every single day. Today, we want to explore and discuss how everyone's journey to tech will be different and how you can make that transition and position yourself to find the best opportunities for you. Our session will be hosted by Michelle Pruitt and moderated by Chaitra Vidulapalli. And I want you to get ready to use that chat, ask your questions, and grow your network. It's there for you to use to connect and to engage with each other, but also engage with our speakers. We have industry leaders here, so please use that chat to speak with them. And I want to welcome them to the stage. As you've seen, Chaitra, over to you.
Thank you, Marissa, for doing a fabulous job. So first is welcome everyone. But say hello to each other. Let's go and see if the chat is working for all of us. Excellent. This is beautiful. Before we get started, I know we all want to kind of have a way to kind of get connected. So my first question to all of you is, what is the hardest decision you made about your career? What is that? Come on, tell us. And what do you want to learn today? Thank you, Amy. I love my glasses too. Thanks to Ferenda on the team. She got us introduced, and I think this should be like a Women in Cloud branded glasses, so we all can wear. So what is the hardest decision you have made with your career? Prue, let's start with you before I introduce you. What do you think was your hardest decision? And I'm giving I'm stressing everyone with a very difficult question. It's just saying, why are you here, right? So,
I'm going to share one that maybe isn't specific to a point in time, because there's a couple of different examples that come to mind, but being scared, sometimes terrified, let me qualify that. There's levels of fear, and still moving forward, still doing it. But inside, you are just feeling like you are falling apart and you want to run and hide, but you are there and you have to move forward. Those moments are the most difficult. At least for me, that's what comes to mind. Being scared, staying there and doing it anyway.
Completely, Prue. You said it well. I've also started to see people sharing their messages. Just sticking with, staying in a job after my son was born. Absolutely. Whether to stay in tech or working in social good or nonprofit is the hardest decision I've ever made to decide to commit. Absolutely, commitment is definitely on the top of the list. Took a risk to start working and start taking care of a family, and turning down a dream job when offer was too low. Hardest decision, leaving full-time employment to pursue new opportunities and balancing purpose and burnout. Absolutely. I think that's kind of the space I would say is each one of you, your answers are right. And my next question is, what do you want to learn today? This is a very interesting topic. Prue is here and she's one of our board of advisors, and I'll also give a good introduction. What do you want to learn? What is one thing you want to take away today, so that we can also focus on getting that answer that you're looking for? What do you want to learn today?
I would love to hear what's top of mind for individuals, because you and I can have a conversation, right? But being able to know the questions that folks here today have and being able to direct our conversation in that direction, we just want to make this as helpful, uplifting, and supportive for you as possible.
Thank you, Prue. What do you want to learn? Put it in the chat. I want move. Okay, how to find a sustainably fully remote position? Absolutely, fantastic question. I can tell you one story is I was in corporate career for 18 plus years, and one of the decision was to become a founder of a tech company. And it was the hardest thing because I didn't know what to do, because I knew exactly how to operate in the corporate world, but how to really do it on the other side, I knew how to solve a problem, but I didn't know how to establish an organization and get people to, contribute to the vision to create a world a better place. So that one was definitely a place. So for today, it's like really restarting your career would be very similar. And I want all of you to kind of keep your eyes and minds open. I can talk from my perspective of how I moved into from different states, and then Prue is going to be. So a little bit about Prue. Well, she's known as instrumental in guiding digital transformation and modernization across a Fortune 100 to SMB companies. And she's really passionate about technology and customer advocacy, and has ignited workplace to increase impact and profitability while building a story that fosters innovation. Her accomplishment is she's a strategist, a trained mediator, certified life coach, and a storyteller, and has fostered broad innovation with top leaders, helping them to tap into their unrealized potential by connecting technology, people, and situational environments. She is a change agent and also strategy building, tactical and strategic paths and SaaS across product and engineering. From a title perspective, she's a senior director at Microsoft, and she was also a director at SAP. And like she did help a lot of those strategic coveted positions in the company. And she's also a board of advisor for Women in Clouds, just to give you some Kool-Aids. And recently she became an executive producer of a Hollywood movie too. So that is Prue for you. So Prue, welcome to Women in Cloud stuff. Tell me what's exciting in your life, and where and how are you spending your time lately? And before we get into all the interesting questions.
Well, what's exciting, the executive producer aspect is exciting. It is a completely new venture, a new industry, and talk again about having some anxiety, but going forward anyway. So it's about learning. And then the other aspect that is exciting for me in a true role, traditional role, like my day job, if you will, is a cultural aspect. I am working to drive a cultural initiative, which, let me use an analogy of a cruise ship, right? It doesn't turn, and no organization turns quickly. It's like turning a cruise ship around. And so it's exciting, and yet it's challenging because I want to see progress and I see it, but there are so many ups and so many pauses that I sometimes have to manage my energy, my emotion, my perspective, and recognize that even the pauses are an element in building that path forward. So those are the two things that are exciting in my world today.
Awesome, Prue. I'm excited for you, and I'm also excited working with you in so many interesting projects with you. There are a lot of questions where people are thinking from going from, tech to non-tech roles, non-tech roles into tech roles. So what drew you into the tech field? What was that got you excited?
Yeah, well, so I think folks have this image in their head that a path to tech is this straight path. Mine is not a straight path. I joke that I took the scenic route, but that scenic route gave me a lot of perspectives and experiences that I bring into tech. I started out in public relations, and that's my undergrad, working for agencies, working in nonprofits. I even had a stint in theme park management. What has been consistent, though, is a curiosity about solving problems, making things more simple, easy for myself and colleagues to use and interact, making it more simple for whomever our customer is, and asking questions about those scenarios, which it often leads to me having an opportunity to either volunteer to solve them or being requested to be part of the team to solve them. And when I look through my past history, all of what I just said remains true. At the theme park, I got moved into leading the advertising and graphic design department. I was not a graphic designer. I had some experience, but I wasn't a graphic designer. But I had questions and I had ideas. And moving into that team, I started designing billboards. I designed an animal enclosure. I knew nothing about animal enclosures, thinking about the welfare of animals, but yet the customer experience. I was working for an ERP firm as their marketing director. And I was looking at how do we improve our website in terms of engagement for our customers who are coming in to learn more about us, actually our prospects, and how do I increase our rankings? And that led me into search engine optimization and SEM, which eventually got me recruited by Microsoft. Inside of Microsoft, working on the advertising side, what's now Microsoft Advertising, I noticed that there were a bottleneck with editorial process, trying to get advertisers live, the account management team understanding what those guidelines are. And so I started asking questions, advocating for simplicity, for transparency, and understanding what policies were invoked and what periods of time for which advertisers. Why I'm bringing this one up is because it led me to being recruited to be the first member of the editorial team inside of Microsoft Advertising and developing what is really the backbone, if you will, of their editorial process today. My vision was, well, wait a second, we have advertisers that fall into these segments, these industries. Nordstrom, as an example, not all of these advertisers are at risk, right? They're not they're not pharmacies selling medications where someone could get hurt. Can't we identify an advertiser who is low risk and then look at their keywords and create this automated, which is now machine learning, right? This automated process that could identify them as low risk, get them live, get the company making money. So looking for where you can create solutions and simplify that impact customers, that impact employees, impacts the business with revenue as a great driver. Those are all things that in hindsight, I have done by asking questions and volunteering. But I think a lot of people have a challenge because they think their path to tech has to be clear and defined. They need to say, this is my step 1 through 5 that I'm going to take, and then I'm going to land inside of tech. That's not the case. Small steps can lead to compounded effects. So you don't always need to know exactly what to do next, but you want to just do something. Don't be complacent. Don't just sit back. Lack of confidence, I think, and this is also on the screen, impacts a lot of us. I know I can struggle with confidence and imposter syndrome, but the fact is everyone who is here today has already exhibited a drive to be successful, to do more. So I would also suggest that folks here who might be questioning their capabilities, their experiences, one, to realize that they kick ass, right? They have incredible backgrounds and experiences, and those unique experiences are a benefit coming into tech. It gives you perspective. I would also say, write a bio about yourself. I mean, listen to what Shaitra said when she was opening the workshop. Man, that gave me confidence in myself, right? So when you're having those moments, listen to others and how they describe you. But again, believe in yourself. And everyone is thinking about the outcome and nervous about the journey. I just talked about that one step you have to take. And normalize it. I heard Oprah Winfrey, or I read this about Oprah Winfrey. She said that regardless of whether it was a world leader, a celebrity, global influencer, meaning like politician, whomever it was, every interview that she conducted, from presidents to the Dalai Lama, every individual after the interview looked at her and said, "How did I do?" So just because someone is presenting as confident, presenting as being all together, that does not mean that in their mind, they are not going through a whirlwind of thoughts. So everyone has nerves at time. And networking, I'm going to talk about this a lot because I really do believe in networking. So many people have a fear. I mean, I'd love seeing in chat, like raise your hand, put it in here. How many people, when they think about networking, they have this visceral, oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to talk to people. Networking is key to finding a job, to transitioning. And you need to reframe it. Really think about networking as it is about finding a commonality with someone. When you look for friends, right, you're looking for that commonality. Do we like music? Do we like going out to eat? What is that commonality that we could do together and have fun? Networking is the same thing, but the commonality that you're looking for it relates to what you do as your day job, right? Your industry, your function. That's all it is. Ask the same questions, find that commonality. It's not transactional. You don't have to exchange something in return, but eliminating the fear of networking can benefit you so, so much. And I've said a lot, so I want to pause, let folks put some questions in chat. Shaitra, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So let me pause because I could go on for another 20 minutes.
Bro, I think if we all look into any industry we enter, right, I think the trouble of knowing where you start, how you start, the confidence, I think those are our real stuff. The networking piece, what you touched was fascinating because people think like you have to meet with people and then get connected. I want to give a story of how I met Prue. It was a fascinating story. It was like, I think it was the first Women in Cloud Summit or a second Women in Cloud Summit. Yeah. I get a call from, like, she sends me a text from LinkedIn. She said, hey, I know you're putting this event together. I want to see how I can volunteer or help you because I know you're going to be like, you may need extra hands. Is there a way I can contribute to this mission? Because I truly believe in it. And I sent her a text right away. It was like an afternoon, Sunday, 3 p.m. where I want to sleep. But this text was so genuine. I texted her, I said, yeah, and we got on a call. And from there, we are just creating history. And that is what a relationship looks like when you're able to contribute to each other. Because most of the time, Prue, what I've seen is when people are networking, it's like, what do I get? What do I get, right? But networking is when, what can you give? And how can you give them something they need at this moment and transform that? So if you're doing it, you have Prue's LinkedIn and you have Chaitra's LinkedIn and all of your LinkedIn, try to make an effort and say how you can contribute to us in our life based on what you're listening to me and Prue. And if there's anything you can do, send it. And trust me, you'll become a very close friend very quickly with us. Okay, yeah. That's the power of Women in Cloud ecosystem. So Prue, I have a question for you. And I know you always believe in not giving up and really working very hard. What's one thing you would go back and tell yourself when you first made this transition? Like, what are the things you would tell it?
You don't always have to prove yourself in the moment. And let me give some context around that. As you are looking to transition into tech, maybe it's even a different industry into tech, I think a lot of times, again, referring to imposter syndrome, our doubts come into our top of mind. And most of the time, what's vocalized are not kind comments. I had someone use this term to name them the shitty committee, and I've adopted that, right? Because they're not my cheerleading committee. I'm working to retrain them to be my cheerleading committee, right? But it's generally, you're not smart enough. Wait, everyone is smarter. Everyone's better. Well, guess what? You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, and you don't necessarily have to prove yourself in that moment. What you do need to do is prove yourself, yes, through your follow through what the eventual outcome is. Let people have their opinions, and you can show them whether their opinions are accurate or whether they need to open their minds and retrain themselves based upon how you act, what you deliver, how you collaborate, those outcomes. So that's one of the biggest things. You don't have to prove yourself in the moment, because when you operate in that mindset, you are not a friend. You are actually an inhibitor to yourself and how you can show up as your best self. So love what's on the slide. Take that pause. Think, why am I talking? The acronym WAIT, right? Why am I talking? Really think about that. Am I talking for myself, or am I talking because I have knowledge that I need to share? Two different engagements there.
Cool. So, Pru, I have I'm going to go off script a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me about when people are going through the transition phase, what are kind of the benefits of the beginning? Has the tech has space for everyone? Because I think that everyone is trying to figure that out. And are there any action steps for transitioning to tech you would recommend?
I think that there are a lot. And gosh, I'm really trying to think of where to start. So first off, everyone's probably seen the headlines about the layoffs in tech, and the layoffs are happening. What's not being talked about is that there is still growth in tech. So I'm very passionate about the metaverse. I'm doing some talks on it. And if you read headlines, man, the metaverse is dead. Facebook's de-investing. They let go their whole team. Microsoft let go a team. Those headlines don't give you the context. Whether it's Microsoft, Facebook, you name who the company is, the investment in the metaverse is still happening. What you are seeing through these inflammatory headlines is that companies are, yes, consolidating and aligning their strategies, but there is so much opportunity. Technology is not going away. It drives and it has evolved. It's changed how we shop. It's changed how we build the products that we buy when we shop. It has changed how we grow and harvest our food. It is changing how we work. Technology is literally influencing and developing and creating the world that we are going to live in, whether it's 5 years from now, 25 years from now. So jobs are not going away. And you can see, on the slide, there's growth and development that's available. Job satisfaction. I just talked about how tech is influencing how we build what we buy and growing our food and harvesting it. You can look at technology and you can find a purpose that leads to a greater good in the world. And when you have that alignment with purpose and doing something good for the world, job satisfaction tends to increase. Compensation, it's known tech jobs pay really, really well. Compensation packages are important. It's about the benefits. It's about what you can learn on the job. It's about what enables you to live the life you want to live, the lifestyle you want to live. So it's life-changing. And I encourage everyone, I'm so biased about this. I'm so bullish about this, that tech really is an enabler to people becoming empowered. Let me say one more thing and then I will stop. I've worked hourly jobs where you have to clock in and you clock out at the end of the day. And I don't like them. For me, it doesn't work. I like the freedom that a tech role provides, where not every day, but many days I can decide, am I starting my day at 7 a.m. or am I starting my day at 10 or 11 a.m.? Do I need to schedule my day so that I can go to a doctor's appointment? Or, I have so much empowerment because of my job in technology, which I can do from any location. I don't have to necessarily be in the office all the time if a personal commitment takes me somewhere else. And I lied. I want to say one more thing because I remember this coming up in chat. Someone talked about how do you become sustainable if you're in a remote position? That is important. If you are remote, you need to figure out how to connect with your colleagues and your leadership team. It's really important when we talk about networking that then you have a networking effort dedicated to your internal colleagues and world of influence. Because if you're working remotely, you're not always in the hallway to have hallway conversations, which might exclude you from certain experiences, relationship building. So coming together and networking internally, you need to do that if you're working remotely. So a little side tangent, but I wanted to throw that in while we were talking here before I forgot.
Oh, Prue, actually, you said it very well from the remote working. And I do want to add a little bit more color commentary on that too, if you're
Yeah.
okay with that. Right now, remote working is really one of the most easiest thing to get, especially as a woman. It's like one of the blessing that we all wanted in the history of me working in the tech. However, when you're working in the remote, you most of the people forget that you are really still working. You still had the four principles of remote working is really making sure you're aligned to what you're really working on, because nobody knows what you're, if you're not aligned to the goals or the deliverables, then you are going to fail miserably there. So kind of making sure you're aligned on the deliverable. Second is the communication, making sure you are communicating with the team. The fundamental, I would say the platform for remote working is strong communication, because the misunderstanding is extremely high in the remote work, because how you say, what you say, the words can trigger you very easily. So making sure that you kind of communicate, is just, do you really mean this? Is this what you really want? Get on a 10-minute call, do workshopping, and making sure that you are all aligned on the same page, because nobody has an ill intent to make your life worse. Let me tell you, everyone's life already has a lot of strength. The third is the accessibility. This one I'm saying because of me, work in a remote environment. I also encourage more people on the team to have the remote work experience, because it is the right thing, because you can go take your dog to the park, you can take your family. However, you still need to be a little accessible, in the senses when people are trying to find you, you're not disappearing for 24 hours, 48 hours, and everyone is worried is, did you get hit by a car or something happened? So you're creating unnecessary anxiety on the teams, and suddenly you start to get noticed that you are not present. You are just goofing off, right? Immediately, that's the brain just switches into the negative side instead of the positive side. And the last one is self-accountability, making sure you're accountable, because this is the first time in the history of work culture that you as a human have to be self-accountable. Because when you were growing up in school, the teacher told you, your parents told you, when you were in person, the managers told you, but in remote, you have to tell yourself to do the work. You have to put a plan, you have to get it done. So those are kind of the fundamental principles of remote working. But once you master those four, you are, I would say, invincible kind of a human being. And once you get there, the world is an oyster, because there's only 1% of people who have mastered it yet. And we want more and more women in cloud ecosystem to do it. So with that one, I just wanted to give my perspective, because I can talk about that one for hours. And I'm also very passionate through. So tell me something about tech has space for everyone, $7 trillion opportunity, the largest ecosystem. What are there for all of us who are thinking about, moving into tech or non-tech? How does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stats here are phenomenal. And, two that I really want to key in on is the top left, in that 60% of well, let me rephrase this. So when women versus men look at a job description with the requirements, women tend to think they need to be 100% qualified. Whereas men are like, you know what? I'm mostly qualified. I can do this. The other stuff I can learn when I'm there. And I think that we need to hold ourselves accountable when we are trying to be a perfectionist and meet 100% of the criteria. Because in most situations, if you are performing at 100%, you've already outgrown that role. Now, if you're being strategic and you're looking for an entry point, sure, this might be a strategy that you take. I'm 100% qualified for this role. I will probably do better than other candidates interviewing. It might be a strategy to enter for that company or that particular discipline. But I would love to challenge everyone here. If you meet 60% of the criteria, apply. You can learn the industry, you can learn some of the other skills on the job. So challenge yourself there. The other thing that I would like to emphasize is on the recruiting side, right? Hiring managers as well as recruiters, there is a transition where more hiring managers are recognizing the value of transferable skills. And you talked a lot about them in terms of remote working just then, having that remote position. But when you think of critical thinking, time management, project management, communication, collaboration, those are more essential to success. Yes, there's skills that you can learn, but there's also a lot of personality and also personal work ethics that go into each of those. And so you really look for where you have a differentiator that you can bring to the table and how you can talk about it. And I think we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about differentiators, so I'm not going to go into detail here. But the other thing that I'm going to say, and it probably relates to the last slide, I read a statistic, and I don't remember the source, but it was that women in STEM make about 28 to 34% more than women in non-STEM roles. And if you're in a STEM role, not all of those have to be technical roles. And that's also a misnomer. So just being in tech, people generally assume you're a coder, you know how to develop. That's not necessarily true. There are a lot of jobs that aren't technical, right? They're more on that left side of the scale that give you the opportunity to get a role with a tech company that allows you to take advantage of their internal training to become more technical if you choose to do so.
And very well said. As I said, we have done this particular cloud skilling series. When you're looking at the tech, you need to look at a tech from sales to coding, and
Yes.
there's everything in between. The sales is where you're in front of the customer selling the product. You still need to know about the technology to sell.
Mhm.
And when you're coding, you need to know how to code to create that technology, everything in between. So if you're a coder, you need to have 100% technical skills, and you are
Yep.
like the architect and the coder and Python and whatever codes that are out there. Then you're in sales, you should be able to say, how does this product actually drive value? And how does the algorithms work in the back end? So you need to think about in that life, like a continuum of from building to selling, where can you bring majority of your skills, and that can be transferred for the tech. And that's when you see a significant growth for your piece, because what you need to know is how does the cloud and AI technology is built? So if you're selling homes, you want to know how to sell home. What are the things that goes into a home? Same thing, what are the components that goes into building a product? And then how are they selling? What's the price? How they go about it? So once you understand the end-to-end continuum, you will be able to find the right spot in the right organization to do the right step. So that's the formula behind it. Do you agree, Prue?
Completely agree. Knowing that life cycle, whether it is the customer experience life cycle, sometimes it's talked about as the value chain, but yeah, knowing that end to end and really being able to say, like, where are those pain points for whomever my customer is? And that is going to be your key for success, regardless of the point in that life cycle. So most definitely.
Awesome. So Prue, now, I want to have a Q&A session, but here I want to kind of ask is, most of them are looking to transition to tech or restarting their career in tech. Can you tell us like an action steps, and can you take through this one? I love this slide because it is very comprehensive and I can also remember, so take me through it, and also the audience.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to start with an oversimplification, because the whole point of this session is to help everyone here and either coming into tech, transitioning into tech, or transitioning industries. So the oversimplification is focus on keywords. And keywords, they're really the secret sauce of almost every interaction that you will have. I saw someone say that they were autistic in chat, and how do they network? The same thing applies in that instance. Focus on keywords. So if we start at the top here, right? maybe you don't feel that you're technical. Maybe you don't feel as though you have hands-on experience. That's okay. You can have a vision and an opinion that can get you started and also can get you a long way in interviews and conversations. So first, start exploring technology. You probably use a lot of technology every day. Your cell phone is technology. Look at the apps that you're using. Look at the user experience from your perspective. Do you like it? Why don't you like it? Right? And then again, keywords. Come up with, well, is it slow? Is it fast? Right? Is there a login issue? Research topics. Look for courses, certifications, videos that are out there. It's all about exposure. So there is absolutely no excuse for someone to say, I don't know, because what you can say is, I don't know yet. I'm looking for, and you can find. You also need to look at your network. And again, keywords, right? You're looking for titles, you're looking for companies, you're looking for industries, you're looking for certain experiences. So look at your network, start to engage on LinkedIn, reach out to individuals and saying, I want to learn more about what you do. I'm interested in whatever you're interested in. And this really intrigues me. What are your thoughts? Can we chat about this? Can I learn more? What do you suggest? Right? Again, sticking with keywords, thinking about your resume. Look at your resume as it exists today. And what I would really suggest that folks do is reframe, reposition their experience and look at the keywords that they found by researching job descriptions from the companies that they're interested in the roles that they're interested in. What are those key skills? How are they defining those key skills? Are they saying that you need to be a customer manager? Well, if you're in customer management, communication, collaboration, really important. Do you have that experience highlighted in your resume? So make sure that you're looking again for those keywords and the alignment there so that not only you can bypass the AI that filters resumes, right? You get a high relevance, but you're talking in the language of the hiring manager, the HR recruiter who you might have the first initial screen with. Then also look, like I said, at non-tech roles, right? If you're in finance, there's a lot of finance roles at these companies, right? There's a lot of money that goes through these companies, contracts that need to be evaluated. There's HR roles. In my role right now, I don't do coding. I'm at a strategy level. And while I have some development experience, again, I don't consider myself a coder, but you can find non-tech roles that, again, give you those opportunities. And then very importantly, those soft skills that we've talked about, reframe those as well. Again, looking at it from a keyword perspective and shifting them. This is a mindset shift. More times than not, we think these soft skills are a given. Oh, anyone can do this. Guess what? That's not true. There are a lot of people who are poor communicators. There are a lot of people who do not collaborate well. There are a lot of people who are better at being told what to do rather than sitting within themselves and thinking about a potential solution to a problem. So these soft skills can really be your superpower and differentiator. And those, again, coming to keywords, right? Use them as a strength and make sure to include them in your resume, but also in your conversations. That's really where you are going to express who you are as a candidate and what you are capable of.
Fantastic, Pruitt. So I want to ask a few questions for the audience. Yep. So first is, tell me which apps do you use the most? Like, let's say 80% of your time you are spending, or even like, let's say 60% of your time that you're using every single day. Put it in the chat, because then we'll talk about how you think about it.
That's going to be fascinating.
TikTok, YouTube, Google Docs, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, Spotify. What else? YouTube. So we are spending a lot of time learning about YouTube. Okay, beautiful. Airtable. I love Airtable too. That's where I spend my majority of my time. What else? Okay, so now my first question for you is, how many of you have gone and checked the press releases of what kind of technologies are coming and they're building in that space? Anyone say yes? Or everyone who have not, never? Okay, so start there. Look at the press release on what are they rolling out? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
So that way, you know, that is where the innovation is happening. And that's the fastest place. You can start contributing. You can look at, you know, that product, you spend a lot of time, you're passionate about it, whatever the reason you're using it, then go look at a press release and say, can I contribute to that company? And then do it. Yes, Canva is also one of my favorite. Now, third is award stories. How many of you actually have looked at a company and seen their awards, or what are the award winners are doing? Anyone say yes or no?
Shaitra, if
No,
I could
so
interject, I
yeah,
love what you are asking, and it made me think about with these questions, everyone needs to, in their news feed, tag the companies and the topics that they're
exactly,
interested in, create a
exactly,
Google alert, right? Make this part of your daily practice to start looking at what is newsworthy that these companies are putting out and what third-party content is being created about them. I love that you
exactly.
brought this up.
Exactly. Anyone who's working in a tech industry or not even a non-tech industry, you should be looking at which are the stories that you can create that can become press worthy. And when you join, you're creating those press worthy stories, means you're creating that innovation.
Yep.
When you go and talk about how you can create that innovation with them, it'll be very good. Write a press release of what you can drive for the company and say, having me come and join your company, I can do XYZ, and here is how I can help you with it. Automatically, you have given an idea and a solution, and you're a talent to make it possible. Has anyone done that one in your lifetime? Something like that? Anyone here? No? Then I will challenge each one of you to go and find that and say, I want to be in that company, and this is how I'm going to contribute. Write a press release. If you want us to see it, Prue and I, we are here to help you out. Is that a good deal? Awesome. Fantastic. And then, Prue, tell me about your own process of how you look at your personal and your vision for yourself and your mission as you're thinking about transitions in the career. How are you doing it? Tell more about it.
Yeah, so what you're seeing on the screen is actually a worksheet that I put together for myself. And you're seeing here my personal leadership principles, you're seeing my mission, you're seeing my vision. Now, you can structure this in any way, but again, this is about simplifying for folks who are here today. I happen to like Amazon's leadership principles. I think that they are well written. I think they're comprehensive. They can get you anywhere from entry level up to the C-suite. And I also would say that regardless of the company that you're looking to join, most of their values, most of what they're looking for are also aligned to Amazon's leadership principles. So what I did here is I just put a spreadsheet and I had Amazon leadership principles up at the top, understanding what they are. And I started writing my stories based upon my experience, based upon interviews that I had, conversations, based upon books I was reading. And with each of these, whether it's my leadership principles and vision or mission, or it's what I did when I was at SAP or the theme park, I created stories. You can use the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and results. It's one that that Amazon, Microsoft, and a lot of tech companies like. And I wrote my story using those principles. What was the situation? What was the problem? What was it that I did within that situation? And what was the outcome? Now, it doesn't always have to be a success, right? Almost every company is going to ask, when did you fail? And people hate that question, right? But it shows some resiliency. And there are always, in retrospect, things that we can do better. So again, use the leadership principles, write down your stories, and then put a check mark. How does this align to be right most of the time within the Amazon principles? Or be customer obsessed. Make sure you have multiple stories for each of those leadership principles, and also practice your stories, scale them, shape them, shift them a little bit. What this does, it makes you so familiar with your stories that as you're going through your interview, if you are interviewing with multiple people in the same day or within a short period of time, you can pivot your stories so that you're not saying the same thing to multiple people in the same company. And you also have a handful of topics, those stories, excuse me, that you can speak to for each of those interviewers. Now, for me, the leadership principles, it took a little bit for me to get here. And I started researching what leadership principles were, and I looked at some leaders that were important to me. And someone talked about empathetic leadership in chat a bit ago. And I am a big believer, subscriber, follower, and hopefully practitioner of empathetic leadership. So I really do lead with people first. And not all companies and not all hiring managers think in that way, but it's important for me to know that I do. And someone early on said that they turned down their dream job because it was a low offer, which is an incredibly powerful thing to do. Kudos for you for doing that. I know based upon my leadership principles, if I'm not in a role where empathetic leadership and leading with the individuals is a priority, it's not the right fit for me. So I'm able to have a discussion, because that's what an interview is. Realize you're in the driver's seat too. It's not just you trying to wow the interviewer. They should be trying to wow you. This is where I can have a conversation and I can see how they align to my principles and my vision, what I'm trying to get. So I think it's Amazon's put it out there. There's a lot, again, of third-party content where people are dissecting what those values mean, which is another reason why I think their principles are so easy to use. If you're having trouble understanding how to dissect them or apply them, YouTube, we saw how many people you used to, right? Research the principles, listen to how other people are talking about them. And once you go through this exercise, you are going to realize your stories become much more natural, and you're going to realize you also have a confidence in being able to see what you accomplished because it's in a spreadsheet. So it does somewhat counteract that imposter syndrome that we talked about. So I'm passionate about this. I've shared it, and I think we just shared a link in chat. And if not, I can share the format as well.
Absolutely, Prue. I have done this one too, and the values allow me to really know who can come in my circle and who does not. And if they don't bring fun and positivity, it's pretty much out. They're like out immediately, because it's really driven from the value system and then accomplishments, because I truly believe that we are here to create something amazing. So why just sit there and waste your time watching just a movie or just a TikTok? I want to create, I want to use my time very effectively. So I kind of associate with those kind of people so we can all grow together and become the best version of ourselves. And intuitively, we know that we are contributing to each other. So I think the more you do your vision and the mission and the principles and values, it just allows you to know who you are and the type of people you want to work on and the type of projects you want to work on and the type of companies you want to work on. So then the value alignment drives the best scenarios. And Prue, you did a fantastic job. But before I go into Q&A, I do want to tell everyone, because they're all thinking, what's in it for me? Well, there are a few things that's coming for you. There are a few scholarships. One is the Inside Agile Leadership Training that's coming. There's only 25 scholarship seats available. And this is to help you become the leaders in driving agile implementation model. And the second one is the Azure Cloud and AI certification. That will be, again, I think it's around 200 certifications that will be available. So it is really first come, first serve, who writes a best case statement. If you don't know how to do it, go use ChatGPT. We'll give you an answer how to write it effectively based on why you want this certification. because these are really like approximately $1,000 to $3,000 value. So I want all of you to be aware of it. It's coming next week, so be prepared for that. The second thing, tomorrow we have, next slide please, is we have a CXO series focused on business application of generative AI. If you want to know how to think about generative AI, then this is a place for you to come and take the session, because all the execs women from the corporate ecosystem are going to be here. So this one will be a good for you to understand which direction this technology is going and how you need to be part of it as a developer or a coder or as a sales team or as an adopter of the technology. It'll allow you to help you navigate. Also, we are coming to Chicago next week. So Prue and I, we will be there. So we are actually going to be part of a Hollywood movie shoot with Danny Trejo. There is an executive dinner and also a founder brunch. So if you are interested, please put it in the chat. If you're in Chicago, it's happening in Naperville. We would love to meet you. And this one will be an absolutely a great experience to connect with all of you. Yes, tomorrow's event is on AI and it's virtual. This one is in person. And the last one is, which if you have not heard about, is the Insider Circle. This is a new subscription program that we have activated to really help women become leaders. So we cultivate and celebrate your leadership, because this particular executive leadership programming is not accessible anywhere. You have to shed like $5,000 to $10,000. What we really looked at and say, what are the things we can do throughout a whole year and make it more like an accelerator, so you get to kind of develop it, because you can come to one session to another, but you need is a continuity. So you can build your speaker narrative and a presence. You have exclusive access to the network, help you with your spotlight. So you are very, very well visible in the market. A lot of member-to-member networking, which you talked about. I don't know how to network. This allows that. And leadership roundtables. So you're learning how the leaders are talking about what they're talking about, and a lot of warm introductions to get you into the jobs of the dream jobs that you want to be in. And that program has been made accessible. It took a lot of time thinking about how do we create the right insider circle, and it's here. So take a moment to explore that. And if you are there, we welcome each one of you to be part of that journey. And with that,
can I talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely.
So you talked about, and you share with the group how we met, which is true. And I'm going to say I was working remotely, looking for a community because I just felt kind of lost. I was on an island, and Shaitra talked about how we connected very quickly. And I cannot express how authentic this is. Women in Cloud has been life-changing for me. Yes, I'm part of the board of advisors. I didn't start that way. I bought a ticket because I wanted to learn more and I wanted to participate. Then I was like, wait, how can I become involved? And I have met phenomenal women through this program who have challenged me. I would not be where I am today. And it's been a short timeline. It's been about 4 years. And I can tell you my personal and professional growth has been accelerated because of this community, because of the caliber of women that you get to connect with. And when you hear me talk and you hear me talk about my role where I am, I have to give credit to Women in Cloud. And I don't know. I think I would still be in a role where I felt lost, in an environment where I felt disconnected. And I just highly encourage everyone. I have so much love because I've seen it myself and I've benefited. So if any of this resonates with you, I'm telling you, reach out. And then we talked about immersing yourself and exposing yourself to technology. That generative AI workshop, do not miss it. Every tech company is looking at generative AI, how they can integrate it, how can they do so very quickly, how can they create their own flavor of it, and then what's next. So amazing things that are going on. And I know I took over, but I'm very passionate about Women in Cloud, and I'm grateful for what I have felt and achieved and done because of them.
Thanks, Prue. You made my day. I think the whole team of Women in Cloud probably are beaming with joy that the contribution that we are making and you're making is really adding value to hundreds and hundreds of people around the world. So before I know we have 4 more minutes. Is there any burning questions you have that I should ask Prue so that you get the answers? There was one question, Prue, this is something I just took it, is someone wants to move from cybersecurity tech without having a technical background. Is there anything that they can do because they're finding this journey as extremely lonely?
So let me clarify, they want to come into cybersecurity, but they don't have cyber. Okay. So
No technical
I think,
experience.
yeah, I think you are exactly who we were talking to today, right? So start the researching and set up your Google alerts, your new feed, whatever it is, to start monitoring companies and the topic of cybersecurity. Pay attention to your user experience on your phone as well as the apps. Are you using a banking app, right? Are you using any sort of application that you have to log in using biometrics, using a password, using two-factor authentication? Look at that experience, start researching. And I just gave you a couple of keywords, right? Two-factor authentication, look into that. Start also researching through government agencies. What is it that they're paying attention to? Because there's so many flavors of cybersecurity or niches that you could pursue. So you need to start narrowing it down. But one thing too, start to get a point of view, even if it's provocative. And let me give you an example. I just talked about biometrics, right? Convenient. I use them all the time. But what are the companies doing with your biometric data? How safe is it? We hear about password breaches all the time. What happens when your biometric data has been compromised? So start looking into what may be Star Wars, Star Trek, anime type, very future scenarios, and have a position, an opinion about what that could be. So that's what I would suggest as a starting point. And from there, you can branch off. You have really the trunk of the tree and maybe a couple of branches. There are so many other branches that you can explore in cybersecurity just from those kind of thoughts and pursuing them.
No, that's fantastic, Prue. There's one more question. I think there are 2 more questions. One is someone who just asked is, what does it take to become a board of advisor? Because they also want to be a board of advisor. Trish, excellent question. It really is contribution. Can you bring contribution to Women in Cloud so we can serve the ecosystem on scale? And it requires a lot of talking to people, a lot of networking. This is not what you call as a golden egg just served on the plate. You actually have to do it to really get to that coveted position that you need. So if you're interested, I can give you some guidance for it, but I know all the board of advisors, they do a lot for the community on how much time, energy, and money they bring to the ecosystem to serve all of you. It doesn't happen without any investment coming in or even access to people coming in. So just a high level. And Prue, last question is, how do you stay current in the tech ecosystem, in the growing innovation that happens in AI and other areas?
I'm so glad you asked that. I was going to ask if we could go over a couple of minutes because I saw that in chat too. The way you can stay relevant, again, look at your own usage in your apps. How well is voice to text or other voice triggered devices that you might have in your house? Does it recognize your voice versus, let's say, a male's voice or a deeper voice or someone with an accent? Again, read a lot, listen to videos a lot, look at some of the future forward technology. Everyone is developing right now their own generative AI models. What does this mean? Are we really going to live in a future where there's 5,000 different generative AI assistants that are out there? No. So start to think about, how do these start to consolidate? What does it look like if we end up with just 3, right? what does that look like? How do industries start to share data? How do you start to give permissions on the generative AI digital assistants that are going to exist? Look at the metaverse. Let your imagination go wild and start to see where your imagination applies to the real world, where it might apply to the future. That's how you stay relevant with the generative AI topics. If you're not going super deep and taking courses on how to code the models, how to address the biases that exist within these generative AI models. There's so much to do. So be curious, think like a kindergartner, really, what is possible, and follow your imagination.
Thanks, Prue. And this one I think is so relevant is you have a Microsoft senior director day job. Now you're an executive producer in Hollywood. You're a board of advisor. And how do you stay current? How do you do all these things without really losing your mind? That's the question. Any insight for a lot of people here so they can think about how do they create multiple versions of them, accomplishing all the things?
Well, I think part of this, Chaitra, you alluded to, right, with using your mission and vision to help define who you bring into your inner circle. Be very protective and defensive of who you bring into your inner circle. You can either have people who are energy contributors and or energy vampires, right? And it's energy could be intellect as well, right? It goes on multiple dimensions, but really surround yourself by people who inspire you, who give you energy, who you admire. And that's one of the things I've done. And I love that you said that, because I feel like I'm a lazy person, quite honestly, right? There's a lot of stuff that I want to do. And then it's like, but God, I just want to sleep in this morning, right? It's a Saturday. I want to sleep in. But I have these amazing women who also hold me accountable, who have goals of their own. And guess what we say? Let's do it together. Once we start doing it together, the community, there is so much that can be achieved, because then you don't have to do everything. And here again, simplification, right? Success is never achieved alone, ever. Ever. So don't do it alone. Don't lift everything. Don't carry it all on your shoulders and your back. Look for amazing women, and you would be surprised at what you can do. So honestly, I kind of feel like I'm on their coattails most of the time, but I'm looking for how I can help and I can contribute. And I know that they would probably have a different perspective. I'm just letting you know that you don't always have to be the leader. You can just say, I'm doing it with you. And then you find an area to contribute and be a part of an amazing tribe where everyone is doing all of this amazing stuff.
Thanks, Prue. You have, grown. I've seen you do amazing stuff. So the last question for all of you before you drop off, what is one takeaway you took away today? I think the conversation was very helpful for you to think about a broader picture, but what was your takeaway, and what is one micro action you will take today, not tomorrow, today, in the next 1 hour, so that we can make sure that you have learned something from us and we as a community can grow together? Yep, I love mentor on different levels, beneath, peer, and above. A catalog stories as a speaker, but don't think to align it to a company principles. I'm doing my Excel or Google Sheets, going to reach out to others. Prue, I learned is do not allow any energy vampires. I love the terminology. Now I know exactly how to name the situation. So that was my takeaway. Don't give up. Go read the press release on YouTube to see what technology they are using. Stay proactive. And again, Prue, thank you so much. You're a fabulous partner and so excited to have you in the network. And you have done a fabulous contribution. Hopefully everyone feels that. And with that, have a fantastic day. Enjoy, stay blessed, stay energized. And
Thank
see you
you.
tomorrow.
Thank you.